So in my last Journey to the Top video, I mentioned how I will have a different video where I explain every single one of the deck cards I showcase in that video. This is that video. So today, we're gonna go over the deck cards for the deck and staple options that the deck have. Alright, so this is a list of cards I have showcased before in my Journey to the Top videos. And this is basically the core of the deck. This is the bare minimum that we play of quantity wise of each one of the Ritual Beast cards, plus obviously we have to include Shifter there. And so the cards that we're gonna showcase today, the list we're gonna go over in just a minute, it's gonna be to fill the rest of the 17 spots that we have here in the main deck, the 6 spots we have in the extra deck, and the 15 spots we have in the side deck. Obviously this is gonna be format dependent in part, but I also wanna cover the cards because there's a lot of cards that can be a little obscure that you can utilize better in the Ritual Beast deck and don't use in other decks. So let's go into the list. So this is the list we're gonna discuss today. This is again to occupy the 17 spots we have in the main deck, 6 spots we have in the extra decks, and also we can discuss a little bit about the side deck. So first things first, I put here in the top left the other copies of the cards that were already in the deck that we might want to utilize. So let's get started. The steed in here is representing the second or third steed that you have in the deck. Now I feel like one steed is not enough for most of the time when you're playing, since after turn 1 most of the games actually are going past turn 2, especially if you go full combo. So normally you will have your first turn, you will search a steed as part of the combo. If not too, if you wanna go ahead and most of the combo lines can also search a second one, most of the 2-card combo lines. So you search your steeds, and then in the next turn you will notice that if you cannot finish the game, you are not really needing those cards back in your deck to be able to search. I end up in a lot of situations in which I'm able to leave my opponent in low hit points, and then in my turn I have the opportunity to search 2-3 times but I have nothing good to search in my deck, since most of my Ritual Beast monsters are already in the grave or vanished. So I find the second steed very needed. But I think with 3 steeds it just breeds too much, and the third one, at least personally, doesn't come up enough. Unless you're in a format where destruction is really good, and your opening combo will always try to include 2 steeds. We always try to search 2 steeds. So for that reason I feel that steeds at 2 is pretty good. I see some lists I play at 1, but it should be 1 or 2. I personally prefer 2 copies of it. I see some people cutting down in Inheritance, but I feel this card is really needed in the deck. The main reason for it is that you want to increase the consistency as much as you can in the deck, and obviously this play into Troll, which is not the best of things, but the good thing about it is that when you have Inheritance, you can go for more 2-card combos, and also you always have the options to send to the graveyard something like a Spiritual Beast Lara, or one of the monsters that you send to the graveyard could then be utilized to go ahead and summon Nocho Dragon and play from there, no? So sometimes you can find yourself in a situation where you normally summon a Rampengu, and then you have to find a way to put another monster in the graveyard because you don't have a way to keep playing. Maybe your Rampengu stop. So Inheritance sometimes help you put the monster in the graveyard and help you keep playing from there. So I really like it at 3 copies. I see some people cutting it back a little bit. Apart from that, we have Pettlephin. I feel Pettlephin is actually important for the deck right now, and a little bit in defense if I should include it or not, because it's only part of about 2 of the combos that the deck have, and most of the time you can also set up a good board without it, maybe 1 less interaction there. But Pettlephin is important when going second. Sometimes you find yourself in a situation where you can banish a Ritual Beast from the deck with something like a Kanaha, and if you can go into Pettlephin in the middle of your combo, you can force an interaction, or you can start your turn. I remember I did this in one of the episodes of Journey to the Top. You start your turn by summoning Pettlephin, forcing a Baron, forcing any sort of negate. You can then go ahead and continue your combo with your other cards, no? So I find Pettlephin, I like to play 1 copy of it. I know it's on list coded because of the space and obviously you don't want to draw it. But one thing that I want to mention with this, and this has to apply for Zefrapilica, that with inheritance, you actually want to play, it's similar to play something like Runicks. You want to have a critical mass because every extra ritual-based monster in hand can convert itself into a Kana High, can convert itself into a Spiritual-based Lara, into an Elder. So you have Pettlephin in hand and you have inheritance, you can discard Pettlephin, search Lara if you're missing her for the combo. If you're missing Kanaha, you can search for that card instead, and so on, no? Zefrapilica actually necessary in the deck. The reason for this is that you have a lot of combos in which you always have a Spiritual Beast, but you're missing the Tamer. And the effect to revive from the graveyard is very important. You want to have that in more than one card than just Lara. Notice, and you will see you saw yesterday, some of the combos called Summon Lara, and then later in the combo Summon Zefrapilica to revive from the graveyard. Because you're putting cards back in the graveyard and you don't want to revive from the Banish Zone if possible with Wynn. Because the cards that are banished are still in circulation, so you want to keep them there. So for the most part, I find Zefrapilica very useful in the combos. I feel like she's a one-off in the deck. I can see what people call it because, you know, it's a breaking hand. But I definitely consider her a one-off that should be included in the deck. Ambush, I find it not needed. I find most of the time, when you come back to your turn, you should have enough follow-up in hand to keep playing. If I feel this is sort of like a win more card, and when it's face down on the field, it's very inconsistent because they're gonna pop it, they force you to activate ambush, and then you have to summon the monsters into the field in the opponent's turn, and they can interact with it, they can attack over them, and you're in this accurate position where you don't know if you wanna lead the monsters in the graveyard because you wanna go into Nocho Dragon, or you just lose the ambush. So it's kind of conflicts with Ulti-Noche in that way. I find it's not needed. I've seen some people play one of them, but I find it that it shouldn't be included in the deck. Ritual Beast Return is one of the old cards in the deck, and I find this card very bad. I don't think anybody should play it. And the main reason behind it is that you consume your special summon. And if it was a special summoning from the deck, like an E-Tele or something like that, then we'll be talking. But no, you need to already have the monsters there. If not, you need to banish one from your hand just to special summon it to the field. And sure, you get the extra summon, but something like E-Tele summoning from the deck. Obviously, you have options with this one. You can summon Kanaha, you can summon Rampengu, but the work that it does is really there's just better cards than this one. Now in the current version, before the new support, Wynn is actually one of the cards that you see often a 3 of in the deck. The reason for this is that you need to start in the current version before Spiritual Beast Lara and all these other cards, you need to have Elder in hand, no? Elder is your combo starter and the deck doesn't have any one card starter. With the new support included, Wynn actually is not good enough, I feel, as she doesn't work with Spiritual Beast Lara since she's a light and Wynn's a win, and also the discarding from the hand is just there's not enough advantage there. Discarding from the hand is not really, you go -1, if you get Ash it's an issue, if you get Droll it's an issue. It's too many negative for her. I feel like the deck is consistent enough, especially if you play Inheritance, that you don't need Wynn to fix your hands. In the same topic, similar to Wynn, you have a Small War. A Small War is the same issue, and the main issue with Small War is that if this card say just banish the monsters, it would be amazing. We banish them face down, sadly. So you don't have, you lose one card in hand, you play into Droll, you play into Ash, and you go, sometimes you just go -2 for no reason, -1 for no reason after the hand trap you. So I find that the deck has better consistency options, and that's when these next 2 cards go into play. So I really like Noble Knight Shieldbearer. I should have never seen this card before. What it does is that add a level 6 or lower Wind Beast monster from your deck to your hand. So this will be adding Rampengu to the hand. And that's important because when Rampengu, even when Rampengu might not be the best starter in the deck, it's still a good a one card starter. No? It's still a card that can get you going. So I have been testing with this card a little bit. You saw some of the combos in Dwelling Books in the spreadsheet. Some of them I have the card in the deck. And I personally have it out of the deck just because it's tough, no? Because you're gonna be playing playing a lot into draw with this card. So it's tough to include cards like that, especially now we have a format where draw is almost mandatory. So personally I don't like it because of that, but if draw is not a prevalent part of the format, I'm really eager to put this card in and try it out. I was playing at one point 2 copies. Right now I'm still debating. I bring it back into the deck, I take it out, and because the good thing is that many hands you will have your combo. You will start with maybe Lara and Kanaha, and you will go through your combo, you will do a fuse, and you will defuse, and you will find yourself, if you get Ash in one of the fusion, one of the Sarc with Ulti Kanaha, you find yourself needing that extra card, that extra Rampengu in hand that you can put into the field. No? So, for example, if you start Spiritual Beast Lara and Kanaha, you can go to the combo, fuse, Sarc Elder to the hand, and then if they Ash your other Sarc, you have this card to go ahead and get the Rampengu in hand. So it's important to have an extra copy of Rampengu or Kanaha in hand to be able to play 2 interruptions. So that's why I like this card, and if you want to play, so this will be 3 more copies of Rampengu basically. If you want to play 9 copies of Rampengu, you can play Heritage of Chalice, which is going all the way. I think it's personally too much. And what this does is that it adds a Noble Knight, so the idea is that you activate this to add this, and this banish itself to go ahead and search that. And also, by the way, this card has a cute hidden effect that interact with the Spiritual Beast Lara. That is when it's normal summon, so you can normal summon this, and you can banish Spiritual Beast Lara from the grave to go ahead and special summon a Ritual Beast and draw 1 card. So anyway, so if you want to play 10 copies, you can also play reinforcements. So that would be 10 copies of Rampengu in the deck. And Emergency Teleport is a really good card in the deck. I find it right now. The good thing with E-Tele is that even when it consumes the special summon, it allows you just to keep playing and also put the Spiritual Beast Lara in circulation, which is the most important part. So often if you go ahead and go Rampengu normal summon, you get Ash, you get Impermanence, you already use a normal summon for this one, you can E-Tele for SP Lara, special summon her, fuse, SP Lara is banished, and you just keep playing from there, no? So I find it to be a really important card in the deck, and it's definitely right now it's a 3 of on my list, and I see a lot of people just playing 3 of just because it's one of the few standards that the deck have. Talking about standards, and those that people used to play in the past, I remember there was a time where we used to play Brain Research Labs. I feel the deck right now with having Elder and having SB Lara is enough. I don't think this card is necessary. Even when we used to play it, it's 2016, like 7 years ago, 8 years ago by now. So yeah, 1 for 1. I found this card, don't find it needed. Obviously you can go for Lara, which is pretty good, but the -1 in hand really costs. And also you play into Ash too, so a card like this and you get interrupted is just very painful. I find it that at least the times that I tested, I didn't test it for long to be honest. I just realized that I'd rather have another card in hand. Ray has an extra copy of a different card. Ray has a defensive card. 1 for 1 really didn't feel like it didn't feel strong. It didn't feel like it did enough. At least from my testing. Most of the time I have it in hand, I don't have a monster to discard. And most of the monsters you wanna have in hand are Ritual Beast monsters, so it's the stuff that you need for the combo. So you often have a Kanaha in hand, and you have 1 for 1, so you can discard the Kanaha, search Lara, and sure you can go from there, but it won't have it better just to have there another Lara or to have a different Ritual Beast monster in hand. Apart from that, a card I tested a lot and I really wish it worked was Crossout Designator. And this card is something, at one point I'm going to make a discussion between the TCG and the OCG and the differences between that. And this is one of the cards that's going to be the discussion. And the center of the discussion. The main issue with Crossout is that when you have Crossout, it feels so powerful when you go first and you're able to stop a hand trap. But it's a card that is only good going first. Once you go second, the opponent has a set board. You won't find a use for Crossout Designator, or you would rather have another card that plays better into a board, like Impermanence, for example. So I tried this card a lot, and it has the Q combo with Wynn, where you can banish a Ritual Beast monster and go on from there. But I don't find it does enough. I find it that it's just it's playing the OCG for a good reason because Maxi is there. But unless we have like a Kryptonite hand trap, which, to be honest with you, Droll is getting to those points, but I don't feel it's there enough that you cannot play through it. So I found the Crossout Designator is just not good enough for the deck. You draw it past turn 1 and it's just nothing. So yeah, I feel like it's not good enough right now. In the other hand, Call by the Grave, I think it's a pretty good card. And I'm currently, I believe I put it back into the deck now, and I think it's a really good card for the format too. Because you get to banish, you not only get to stop the hand traps that the opponent has, but you also get to banish monsters from their graveyard, which is very important in the current format. They have Promethean Princess there, they have the Runicks, you get to banish all those cards. You get the option to banish one of those cards, which can help you play through interruptions. So I find Call by the Grave a really good card, and I wish it was a more copies than one, to be honest. So I think it's definitely included in the deck. Sometimes you can do some niche plays with Call by in the Ritual Beast deck. You banish one of your Ritual Beast in graveyard, but it doesn't come off as often as you might think it would. Enemy controller, I find it that the cards to take over the opponent cards, so these cards that require you to have something on the field or to play into boards, you will notice that those cards, at least from my testing, I noticed they're not very good in the Ritual Beast deck. And the issue behind that is that Ritual Beasts require you to use your normal summon very effectively. Obviously, you have Lara, you have an extra normal summon, no? But the monster that you have and your normal summon is very important, so you have issues playing into boards because the way to force interactions is by summoning using your normal summon. So you will normal summon something like Elder Kanaha, and then those two monsters can get disrupted by Prometheus Princess, or the opponent can interact with them, and if one of those goes away, then you are basically, you find yourself with not many plays, there's not much that you can do. So cards that take opponent monsters don't do much for you because also you cannot do anything with them. All the Ritual Beast fusions require more than one Ritual Beast. And even the strategic monsters, even something like Imul Falcon, require Ritual Beast. So you find the enemy controller doesn't do much for you, and the same thing happened with talents here. The issue again, the main part of this is that they require you to play into a board, and you have a hard time playing to a board as a Ritual Beast player. The three cards here are part of a package, and this is the Nemesis Package, and you have the Flag, you have the Corridor, and you have Shadows, and this is really good going first. But I find it, at least the few times I tested, I find it's sort of like a win more card. Most of the time when I could summon Shadows, I already had a really good board established. I already have cards that were really powerful in the field. I have, maybe I have Ulti-Ray, I have Steeds, that's other cards, and then I just put Shadows on top, and obviously it's a very powerful card in the field, but at the same time, you want cards on your deck that can, no cards that are cards that can help you win, but mainly cards that can help you translate a loss into a win, basically. and I feel this card doesn't do that. This card, when you're winning, it allows you to win more. So your raid has a winning board, and this comes into the field. So if you get interrupted, this is a dead card in your hand, basically. And I found the corridor and the flag. We're gonna go back to these two when we examine the last card from the list. But I find that these two just by themselves doesn't do enough as extenders, because they need you to have the cards already in those places. You need to have a banished monster already, and for that your monster needs to be playing into the board, no? And that's part of the issue. So something cute with these two throws is that if you're playing a shield better, he goes ahead and he can banish itself, and they can count as your banish, so you can do some stuff with that, but I don't think it comes off often enough. Post property, I find it really good with the deck. The main reason we don't draw, you know. And also, as you notice, we have, funny enough, we have exactly 6 spots in the extra decks, and there is some duplicates that you can get rid of. So normally with prosperity, I will be sending, sometimes I send Gaiapelio, but most of the time I send the tier copy of Kanaha, sometimes Gaiapelio, and the rest is whatever flex cards I'm playing at the moment. Sometimes Ty-Phon, sometimes Bagooska, oftentimes Bagooska. Maybe Link Spider if I'm playing in the extra deck, and so on. No? But I find Prosperity as a really good card. Talking about that, we have Trust, and the issue with Trust is exactly the same issue that we have with the other, with the enemy controller, and we have with Triple Tactics Talents. Like, it requires you to play into the board. But different from the other two, Trust can also help you continue. Trust can also help you continue your plays if you play cards for it, which is what we're gonna cover next. But I personally find it that it's probably a good side deck card, and right now I'm kind of iffy with it still in the side deck. I'm currently playing in the side deck, but I find it that it does the work in the side deck when you go first. But the main issue with the deck is that, well, you need help if you going second, no? So it's kind of cool also that you can search stats, you know, you basically use it as similar to how Exo Sisters use Trust, no? You have this card that help you search something within archetype, but also help you with cards out of the archetype. Now, talking about Trust, we also have some potential search targets here in Double Summon and Gold Sarcophagus. I know Double Summon was used very niche around 2017 in the deck. I find it just doesn't do enough. Like, having the extra normal summon just is very situational, you know? Like, you have to need the normal summon. Sometimes you go through the combo and you don't need the extra normal summon. And if you have your full combo already and your opponent doesn't interrupt you, it's just a dead card in hand. It's kind of nice that you can bring it with Trust to your hand. But there's some experimentation with that. Just doesn't do enough. You rather has a card that is more flexible, you know? So there's good going first and there's good going second. Similar to that, Gold Sarcophagus also performs the same way. I noticed you have the combo with Wynn again, and it's something that we used to play in the past, and it's currently probably still in the list before the new support come out. But personally, I find it that I just don't do enough. Just banishing a monster, even when it's a Lara, is most of the time not enough as an extender to keep playing. You rather have cards that help you better keep playing, like Call of by the Grave, you know, or E-Tele, that has something that just vanish. Because if you don't have a Ritual Beast monster in hand, it doesn't help you. If your Ritual Beast normal summon gets interrupted, it doesn't help you. So I just find that it just simply doesn't do enough. I was playing originally, I believe in the list I recorded for the first or second episode of Journey to the Top, I was playing it, but I removed it from the deck once I tested it enough. Talking about cards I removed from the deck, funny enough, Infinite Impermanence, which is this card I'm kind of a little divided about, because I like it as a hand trap. I like that it doesn't play into the Triple Tactics Talents, but I find it so difficult to include it because so many times, especially now, you have so many decks that has quick plays to dodge, you know, stuff you have. I know the Fire King deck has that, I forgot the name of the quick play, they destroy something on the field that they have, so they just dodge with it. And I find it just doesn't do enough. Personally, I noticed when they're gonna establish a board, I prefer a bear board breaker or just a bear hand trap all alone. So yeah, personally I'm not including it, but it's a card we might want to consider again when the cards finally come out for that format, no? Talking about cards that can be included, Ghost Belle Haunted Mansion is... I find it right now is one of the best hand traps, but I don't find it main deck worthy. I find that it plays really well into some of the Farking, some of the Snake Eye interactions, but for the most part, I just find that the coverage that you have and the space that you have in the deck is not enough to include it. If we're playing, if the minimum for a deck was 44, 45 cards, I would probably include it, but as it is, I just find that the hand traps that you have are enough, and you better just play other cards, no? Talk about other cards, especially Ghost cards. Ash Blossom, I still find it Ash and include in the deck. I think that this card should be a 3-off in the deck for sure, at least in the current format. I tried to remove it for some time. I only chose it some time, probably like 1 or 2 duels, and I immediately went back to it. It's really good. Just one of those hand traps that you rather have in hand and has the potential to stop a turn, and it doesn't stop a turn, just weaken the board enough so you can hopefully put one of your normal summons through. So yeah, Fanash definitely a card that you need to have. Ghost System Spooky Dogwood, I find it very interesting. I find this interesting together with this Firecracker, and I guess the other card that should be part of this conversation is Cowboy. And this is something I noticed with the deck playing, especially when you play in person. You notice this. The Ritual Beast combos still take a long time. You should notice the video that we released yesterday. An average combo, once you're playing, if you're playing rather fast, take probably 5 to 7 minutes, depending on how fast you're playing. So just think about it. You should go like that. You should go full combo 2 games. That's 14 to 2 to 4 minutes, depending if you go to game 3, 4 minutes to side. That's like 20 minutes. Your opponent interactions, everything else. You need a card that can help you win the situations once you go to time, because I feel like playing this deck, you're gonna go to time at least a couple of times in a big tournament. And I find it that Cowboy is, I think it's a staple in the side deck. I wouldn't put it in the extra deck just because you don't have the space. I would say the intro for sure. And apart from that, you can also go Spooky Dogwood or Firecracker. That serves the same purpose, but the issue with these two is that they lower your consistency. Because they're in the main deck, you can draw them, and then that's an issue, no? So personally, I like a lot Cowboy in the side deck. But I wouldn't include Spooky Dogwood or Firecracker on the deck. Fangor Reaper is just format dependent. We do have space in the extra deck to play her if the format's demanded, but I don't find that format coming anytime soon. Ghost Ogre, similar to how other decks are implementing, I just find it doesn't do enough. And Ghost Mourner is also another card together with Ghost Belle that always feels like it's like that 42, 43 card that you will play if you will, but I think right now it just doesn't make the cut. Similar to Phantasme. I find that it's just no... I find that you can summon him, but it doesn't help you. And this is something that you will find recurrent with many of these cards in the Ritual Beast deck. We are not capable of effectively utilizing boards for anything that is not an IP or an SP. And that's an issue, because all the Ritual Beast monsters require Ritual Beast cards, no? So when you have the body of a Phantasme in another deck, you will be able to use it for a link summon that will help you continue your plays. You will be able to use Phantasme as part of synchro material, no? To summon something that made like a Baron that can help you interact into the board. But for the most part, Phantasme help you fix your hand, which is nice, no? Especially if the opponent has something like a Prometheus Princess or the Well on board. But for the most part, I find it that it's just not enough. We're just doing that. Talk about not being enough. I find Belle probably should be here right next to Impermanence, and it's just not enough these days, you know. I find it that you go ahead and you activate Belle, and it you has the effect. You negate the effect. But I find one, sometimes they just keep playing with disregard that you negate a monster effect, or two, they just dodge it with different cards, and that's an issue I find recurring in this format. So I find these two cards, just personally for me right now, they don't do enough. There's just better cards, if no better core of the deck that is more important to have. A card that does enough and is incredibly good is Troll and Lock. This card is just fabulous right now. It's so incredibly good. Just against the Snake as is good, against sometimes even against decks that normally wouldn't be that good, you know, like Labyrinth. You just find that it's really good card. Not much to say on it. It's just you has a lot of decks that just do a lot of searching, and you find out, you play it and it just stop the turn many times. So, or force them to create a board that is less efficient and you can play into. And that's the important thing with this deck too. You're gonna have cards in hand, and you just need to stick that one normal summon. That's the whole objective. You can bait the stuff first, you can do other things, but if you stick that normal summon, you can go full combo from there. Also Nibiru, I find a really good card, but an issue with Nibiru is that it's not good against all the decks, no? It's always it feels like it's always like this for Nib. So personally, not including the main deck, but I think this format it really warrants having Nibiru in the side deck, no? Lancia, I find it just not needed right now. I noticed most of the decks just and stuff to graveyard, and it's not that many stuff being banished, and so basically I wouldn't consider Lancia. DD Crow, similar to Gospel here, really good cards to have. I just don't feel Medicot. I feel you can find a better review of hand traps, maybe in another channels. I will try to focus a lot on the cards for the deck itself, but I found that here, of all these hand traps and cards that could be just that take card that help you in the matchup, I find that definitely you have Ash and you have Droll as being the clear and superiors, at least for the format, no? The cards haven't been released to TCG yet, though, so when the cards come out, we're gonna see, probably I will make another video just reanalyzing the tech cards for the deck, but at least for now I will consider a place of Ash and Droll almost mandatory in the main deck. Apart from those, there is a new hand trap in the blog, and this is Vados. You haven't read this card, it's from the latest format. This is, and it said this card is in the hand. You can target a field spell, sorry. Special summon it so this is special summon, it's basically a Kaiju. So you special summon itself to the opponent's side of the field and destroy the field spell. So this is really good. Especially because you have a lot of decks right now that has field spells. No, you have Labyrinth with the castle, you have Farking Island. I just don't find that the coverage is enough, you know, especially because Farkins has the interaction with Sanctuary, and sometimes they don't even need the island to resolve. Now they have the Snake Eye package, no. So I don't know, it just feels to me that it's not the format for it, but I will definitely try to get a place. I'm gonna try to get a place of Vados once the cards once Phantom Nightmare is released, no? So apart from that, format dependent, again, something like Gamma Seal will also be format dependent. Just gonna on and off the format. depending of the decks that are part of it, no? We also have Macro here, and we have Dimensional Fissure, and I found these two cards really good for the side deck. I found that Macro is a trap, so I find it less impactful than Dimensional Fissure. I like Dimensional Fissure a lot because it can help you also with your starting board. Not to mention that it also prevent the opponent from drawing you. So that's really good in a format where draw is so present. This Fissure is really good card, and I can consider I need to do more testing to see if it makes the main deck. But so far, I just need cards that are more versatile. You will start with your first 6 cards going second, and you need cards that you can make plays with or bay negates with. I found the Dimensional Fissure do neither of those. It's good going first, because you can put it in the field, you put your Rampengo, and you go ahead and start comboing now, and make Rampengo combo way better. But apart from that, it doesn't do much. And also, interesting enough, sometimes it even harm you. You can go ahead and do some plays, and it banishes the monster, so you don't have the engrave for Utinoshi. So I noticed that happened to me a couple of times. So yeah, so this Fissure, really good card. I put it in the side deck. If you're going first, game 2 or game 3, I will definitely bring it in. Obviously, it's the matchup is a good matchup for it, you know. But apart from that, I will probably leave it in the side. I probably wouldn't put it in the main deck. The barrier, again, depends on the decks of the format. You have, I know Branded having a resurgence in the OCG. I know that's also partly because of that grass looks greener. That is not legal for us in the TCG. But if something like Branded is in the format, definitely consider this in the side, especially if you're playing the Trust package, no? I personally feel that the format doesn't demand this, but this will be a card that we need to reevaluate once the cards are finally released. Similar to different Dimension Ground, if you're playing the Trust, you can play Dimension Ground, and basically it's a Dimensional Fissure for a turn, no? Which is really good for us. Still, the interaction with Utinoshi is there, but for the most part, it's pretty good. The next two cards are interesting here. Fenrir and Pankratops, and the reason why I put it next to each other is because the board has the same issue that we mentioned before. The board requires you to play into the board. So Fenrir, for the most part, requires you to you summon it, you have to play into the board and force the interactions, and then Fenrir can interact. Or you have to sacrifice your battle phase. You know, you can summon Fenrir, use your battle phase, hit over something, and Fenrir vanish, and that's a really good play, but the issue is that you are giving up your battle phase, no? You're basically trading a card in hand, you're trading the Fenrir, obviously you get another Fenrir, no? But for the turn, you trade the Fenrir, or you trade the Pankratops for 1 point of interaction, you know? For an attack and hopefully another card. And then you have to hope you can still play after that, no? And that's the main issue. Is that if these two don't interact well into the board, first of all, they are only good, really good going second. Obviously, Fenrir, you can still summon it going first, but it doesn't do much for your end board apart from being another body you can put into an IP, you know, or an SP. Also, it's a good point of interaction on your opponent's turn, but if you're trying to go for the combo, Fenrir by itself is not gonna cut it, no? So for the most part, I prefer cards that allow me to play better before I have to commit into Embers, or cards that are more powerful going first. Phantasm of Frost is the same issue. Lightning Storms, same deal. If you're playing Trust in the side deck, Lightning Storms is a good inclusion. I wouldn't put it in the main deck right now, especially because it has the word Destroy. That is a kind of a bad word right now in Yu-Gi-Oh! Evenly Matched, really good card. I'm thinking there is a point, no, where you have a card that is so powerful that you still feel like you want to include it in the deck, even when it requires you to sacrifice your battle phase. And I find Evenly is exactly that card. I feel this card is really good, but the issue is that right now in the format, when you have Fire King, when you have, especially of the Snake Eyes build, regardless if Fire King Rescue Ace or Inferno Ace or whatever it's gonna be when the cards are released, I find that even if you just don't do enough, because you have also interactions coming from the graveyard in the form of Promethean Princess, and you have interactions coming from the hand in the form of Kirin, no? So it's too many interactions that Iblee cannot count for. Most of the time they're gonna just evenly, you lead them with one monster in the field, and they can just play from there. So I find it difficult because sometimes you do need that battle phase. Apart from this, we have 3 other cards. We have Ghost Match, Disable, and Skill Drain. We have Ghost Match first, and Ghost Match is an attribute based disruption. No? You can only control one attribute. It's an issue right now because most of the decks that are fire decks, well, play a lot of fire. No, they even lock themselves into fire. I believe with the princess. So it's an issue because I don't think the impact you have is good enough. Not to mention the Spiritual Beast Lara and I believe is Ultinoshi, I believe are light, no? Yeah. So that's the issue that Gosen have. You cannot play around cards with Ultinoshi. You don't have the extenders. With Gosen, not to mention that it's only good going first, and it's only good against certain decks. And also Lara is an issue, no? You cannot bring her back from the banish. She has Gosen face up. So apart from that, we have Disable. And Disable is a type card, and I find it's really good, but I just don't find it's good enough, especially one copy, to just include in the deck and do enough for us. It's a card that's again the same trend, and this might be something that's just personally for me. I prefer cards that are more flexible, that can help you going first or going second. Disable only going first, and it's based on type, so you still have that issue with your Kanaha. You cannot go into Ulti Kanaha. And you have an issue with your Psychics. You cannot go into Ulti Falco. You cannot go into Ulti Gaiapelio, and so on. No? So I find that for how much it harms you and how much it does for the opponent, and it being only going first, I don't find it's good enough to be in the deck. Now, Skill Drain is an interesting card here, and I find it just doesn't do enough in the format, the current format. When the cards are released, you might be in a format where Skill Drain perform better, and the reason why people used to like including a Skill Drain in the... I remember having it in the side deck a couple of occasions when I was playing the deck back in the day. Part of the reason why people like it is because Ulti-Kana had work on the Skill Drain, no? Because you change the effect on itself, and it not resolving in the banishment, no? In the banish zone. So Skill Drain is pretty good for that. Apart from that, many of your interactions now, many of your plays, to further all your plays, come from the graveyard. No? Spiritual Beast Lara, use card from the hand to the grave. You have other effects like Ultinoshi, Banish 2 from the grave. So it's a pretty good card. I just find it's just not good enough for the current format. Skill Drain. Cosmic Cyclone, on the other hand, is really good card. I would say it's almost at the point that you feel you have to have it in the main deck, just because of how well it interacts into other boards. You have Labyrinth, you can banish the welcomes. You have the Farking Day, you can banish the island. You have, or with the Snake as support, you can banish I find a really good card to have in the deck. Chain of Hearts, similar to what I mentioned before with the enemy controller, the protect this talent. The main issue is that you take over the monster, you force an interruption. Sure, that's really good, but there is better cards that force interruptions than Chain of Hearts right now, I feel like. So taking the monster over doesn't help you much, to be honest, when you're playing, because you cannot do anything with the monster, no? To further your plays, that is. So a Chain of Hearts I wouldn't consider in the main deck or side deck right now. Maybe the format will demand it later on, we will see. Book of Moon, I find it is really good because you can dodge stuff, and remember you can also contact fuse with monster tile face down, so it doesn't affect you that much. The issue with Book of Moon is I only cover one card, no? And obviously you cannot do it with Link monsters, no? So that's the main issue how we book. But in the same conversation, actually interesting enough, we can talk about Book of Eclipse. And this card is a card that I will, if you are testing out the deck, I will really like you to put in the deck before you fully judge. Because I noticed this card just keep performing really well for me. Really well for me. There is often boards where you can go ahead and activate Book of Eclipse, get rid of one negate. I know some of the Snake Up builds right now has Borlot, or they put, there's other decks that, you know, put Baron on the field. So you can trade 1-for-1 with those cards. If you go first, you can dodge Bailers, you can dodge Impermanence in your Kanahas, or if you're bringing back a Rampeng or something, you can go ahead and dodge interruptions there. It's just one of those cards that I feel you have to test out to figure out. But right now I'm putting a place in my deck. And this is probably the most flex spots that the deck have. You know, this is probably 30, 38, 39, and 40. You know, 3 copies of Book of Eclipse, but you just keep performing really well. Find it really helped that it works going first and it works going second, and not to mention something important that for this deck in particular is that the monster you put face down, you can destroy with Steed. So if you go first, you establish your board, they start playing through it. You can force some interaction, or you can make the board more subpar by booking one or two monsters, and then your Steeds just become more powerful, no? So that you don't let them the draws in the end phase either. So I just think Book of Eclipse is a really good card for this deck in particular. But the format is gonna depend. It's gonna depend on the format at the end, no? But I find it right now going into this format and going into the whenever the deck is released, this is a card that's gonna be in my main deck probably. The Ruler No More has the issue that when you go first, you will notice maybe it's just me that I don't like the cards that only work going first or going second. I like cards that are more flexible, but I found the Ruler No More. It's good when you go first, but again, the same issue you have with other cards that interact with boards. It doesn't interact with the Kirin that will be in hand, and it doesn't interact with Promethean Princess and other disruptions that can come from the graveyard, no? Apart from that, we have Fair Duster. Again, it helps you a lot in some matchups. If the opponent play a lot of back row, but it's very dependent. And this is a card for this side deck, I believe. 2 more cards here before we go into the other 30 cards that we have down here. Now, Super Pole is another of those cards that I found very interesting. I noticed that this is another card that you have to test to figure out if it works very well for you or not. Then with Super Pole, again, you sacrifice those 2 spots in the extra decks to put the Garuda in and to put the Mod Dragon in. And Mod Dragon, the cool thing about this is that when you Super Pole, Mod Dragon can call fire, and if you notice Mod Dragon, a very important cloud here is that I said on the field. So you can go ahead and prevent them from bringing back the Promethean Princess. So that's a really cool interaction, but even with that, I'm not sure if it does enough. This card, probably the Super Pole and the Book of Eclipse, are the 2 cards I feel need the most testing right now for the deck. I noticed this is performing really well for me, this has performed okay for me, but it just requires testing, more testing. Super Pole is really good, but you end up not playing some cards in the extra deck as, which is a negative, no? You have to call out maybe the Apollousa, maybe you cannot play Link Spider and you play more into Nip that way, so that's another thing that has to be considered when you play this card. Right now I don't feel it's main deck worthy. It keep coming back in and out of the side deck draw for me. Now the last card in here is something interesting that we're gonna talk about further tomorrow. Well, it's Runic Fountain. And the reason why Runic Fountain is here because when I was testing with the deck, I also tested a lot of variants with the deck. I tried to combine the Ritual Beast deck and I was trying to figure out at least one that will work. And the closest thing that I got was combining Ritual Beast with Runic. And we're gonna talk about this more tomorrow. But just know that this is something that I has considered and we're gonna cover fully tomorrow, in our video for the day. Apart from these cards, I have all cards here, mainly talking about the extra decks now. And all cards we can consider including there, no? One card that I wanna open with here, I guess, it should be. Let's go first over the extra deck list down here. So we have Underworld Goddess. We have a very easy time summoning 4 monsters into the field. The issue is that we need to do that while the opponent already has established board to make Underworld Goddess work, no? We can also consider that you normally end up with IP, and you can even end up with IPSP. So you could consider that another form of interruptions. So Underworld Goddess is a really good card for the deck. I just don't find the space. This is probably the 16 card in the extra that you will want, no? It's really good, and even the new Link 2 that is, I think the mini Underworld Goddess that is out on the OCG, I find it's a really good card. But then again, you need to find the space for those cards, no? I find this is another card that you might want to test more by yourself. Similar to what we talk about with Book of Eclipse and Super Poly. I think Underworld Goddess is another card that is they right in defense right before making it into the deck, no? The extra decks. Now, one card that for me make it over is Apollousa, and the reason why Apollousa is important for the deck is that after you perform your combo turn 1, let's say you start with a Kanaha combo, your opponent interact with it, it will come back to your turn and you will be able to put monsters in the field to set up interactions or to go ahead and put something powerful in the field for interacting with the opponent. And if you don't have a card that can do that, you end up with a board that is that you don't have the depth to put another board that is pretty good. And that's where Apollousa going to play. I noticed that there is combos that you can go into, as we mentioned yesterday, that end up with Apollousa on board. But I find for the most part, Apollousa is important after turn 1. Once your opponent interact with you, you can end up with a situation where you have enough monsters in the field to put something powerful on board, but you don't have that powerful monster in the extra deck because you already used your Ulti Reirautari, and about 10 cards of your extra decks are already spent. So Apollousa end up coming into the field as that one last interruption, I guess before Ty-Phon, they start playing it, that can help you win the game, no? So Apollousa, really good card. I would definitely recommend playing one of her. And this is another flex pulse, and I know I say we cover the cards in the extra deck first. That she is, at least in my opinion, in contention with the second Ulti Reirautari, which I also find it's an important card in the deck. You often find situations where you wish you had a second Reirautari so you can keep playing in turn 3, but I personally like it at 1. I find the second one you see that you need it every once in a while, but I don't find it often enough. The main issue with the Ray here, at least in this aspect, is that the effect to disrupt, the effect to banish is only during your opponent's turn. So when turn 3 comes along, you want to start playing to your opponent's board, you want to start interacting more, it goes more into the grind game, and Ulti Ray normally doesn't do enough for you in those situations. At least the second copy. The first copy is definitely mandatory, I feel. So we have Apollousa, and I think it's a really good card to have in the deck. I'll definitely be playing it for now, and at one point I might take it out for the second Ray, I'm not sure. After this, we also have Accesscode. Accesscode, again, we have a very easy time making highly link rating link monsters. But the issue with Accesscode is that it's just, I feel it's not needed, or you need to cover for other things that the deck is not able to do. So for example, the only monster that the deck have to sell negates to be able to play into boards well is Ulti Gaia-Pelio for the most part. At least in the core cards of the deck, always you also have Pettlephin that you can also interact with the opponent. But you need points to interact with the opponent's board. That's where Apollousa going to place, no? Accesscode you need points to interact with your opponent, but you know, the opponent can also interact with Accesscode, no? And the issue with Accesscode is that it allows you to solve a problem that I feel the deck already solved by itself pretty well, and is OTK, no? If you have a deck like Sky Strikers, for example, you need to solve the issue that Sky Strikers has issues killing the opponent, no? Ritual Beast doesn't have that issue. You have not only a paleo effect that you can activate twice if you normal summon it. You also have Kimur Falco boost. You also have monsters with high attack like Utica Paleo, not to mention that you can do bonds in the battle phase to go ahead and finish an opponent off with that. So I just find that Accesscode is just not good enough, at least for these decks to play right now. I find that spot is used better on something that cover the deck weaknesses better than something that just allow you to OTK better or to clear a board when your opponent can also interact with it, no? So you want to put your monsters into something that can interact better with your opponent, basically. Apart from that, we have Ty-Phon here. Ty-Phon, incredibly good card. It's another card that will be like, it's probably fighting for that 14, 15, 16 spot in the extra decks. I don't remember very well if I currently have it in my build or not, as it's gone on and off so often. But if you find the space, it should definitely be there. And the good thing with Accesscode is that you're playing your opponent's board. Sometimes you're in a situation where you only have a Ritual Beast monster on the field, and that's where, sorry, no Accesscode. The thing with Ty-Phon is that you can end up yourself in situations where you can only have, you end up with just another Ritual Beast monster on the field, and you can put Ty-Phon right on top of it. And it just helps you kind of stabilize at that point. You might survive the turn, and the cool thing is that Ritual Beast, once you pass turn 1, you still have resources banished and in the graveyard. So you can go for another Ulti-Noche Dragon, maybe Espilar, summon something from the deck, and you can keep playing from there, no? So Ty-Phon is really, really good in that aspect. Funny, definitely including the deck. If you have the space, it might not make it with how tight the space can get once you start thinking about all the wand cards that you have, no? Talking about cards I would like to have, I would be Divine Arsenal Zeus, and I put this card, I believe, I don't think it make it to the original build I did for the deck. Was very close to doing it, so the main thing with Zeus, again, is that you can clear boards, no? But Zeus, the thing is that you need to put 2 force on the field, which is something that the deck can do rather easily, but then that's what you're doing for that turn, you know? It's hard to go ahead and, in the middle of your combo, by the end of the combo, you can definitely summon a 2 force and put Zeus on top, no? But the main issue is that you need to do this, thinking of Zeus is thinking about a card that is playing 2 boards, no? And that's the issue, no? That you need to summon Zeus and still have something you can do after, or something else you want to do in your turn. And obviously, if you're playing Zeus, you're committed to play Bagooska or any other rank 4, no? So right now, I don't think it makes the cut for the deck. I think we just have better options that cover the aspect of destroying and clearing the opponent board better. Another card here that comes on and off of my list is Bolsa Lars. The thing with Lars is that you can summon it with 2 Ulticana hats, and it's really useful, no? Because it provides Omni Negate. But at that point, you already have, at least from what I have noticed on my testing, you already has a good enough board, you know? It feels another card similar to what we were talking about earlier about Arch Nemesis Shadows. You already has a good board, you know? You already have something that interacts with the opponent pretty well at the moment that you reach out to Lars. Yeah, and I feel as a follow play after turn 1, Apollousa just do a better job than it, at least from what has tested. But this is another card that is kind of fighting for that 15th spot in the deck. I don't think it's good enough right now, though. Tornado Dragon and Lightning Chidori, 2 cards that right now are in the deck. You're playing in the TCG before the new support. But I just think their time is just not good enough right now in the format. Sadly, Tornado Dragon suffered the issue that it has the bad word, the destroy word on the text. And Chidori, while it's really good, it does not provide anything to play into boards, no? So while you can target the set card, while you can go ahead and do the bounce effect, it's not good enough to commit 2 cards while breaking a board, you know, to go into Lightning Chidori, at least right now. I feel that there is just, even when these are Wynn exclusive, this is a Wynn exclusive, sorry, it doesn't do enough. And talking about cards that are very close to doing enough, you have Exciton 9. Notice we put a lot of cards into the board, so that doesn't help with Exciton. And even when you can go ahead and clear the opponent board, I feel as you are playing another deck that's more XC focused, maybe you want to discard it. If not, I feel like we can just do better stuff for now, no? A Beast Dweller might make it to the extra deck if we need it, you know, for the format. Right now it's not useful enough for the format. But if the format change, we have something like Tearlamex back, it would definitely be in the extra. It's a card that you always have to have the copy ready to put in when the format demands, you know. Right now I don't feel it's that time though. Bagooska, oh, this is an interesting one. The thing with Bagooska is it's really good, but it's very similar, funny enough, to Dweller. It's really good, but it's for the format, no? How well can Farkin play into it? How well can a Labyrinth board play into it, you know? Depending on how good the answer is, you decide you want to put Bagooska in or out. And that's the thing with Bagooska, no? It's like some of those cards that you can set up in your opening board very well, similar to Dweller, but you have that point where it is, do I want to have it or not, you know, on that board. Kaiju, we talked about it earlier. I feel like it's good enough to be in the side deck, and I feel you need to have a side deck card for time with this deck, for sure. And Bagooska, again, right now I am playing it, just to let you know, I'm playing Bagooska. I don't think it got off enough. I'm planning maybe cutting it, but I still need to see what we'll play instead of it. But it's right now the 15 card in the extra that I have. Apart from that, we have IP and SP, and I find these 2 cards are, for me personally, I think they're mandatory in the deck. You need to play IP, and SP is just incredibly good in the deck. Incredibly good. You have so many situations where after turn 1 you have a Kimufalco you can bring back with Lara. You have Kimufalco you can bring back with Wynn. You can link away into an SP, immediately interact with the opponent, then use your or normal summon in the turn for something like SP Lara or something else, or you can just set up the board where you can go from IP to SP, and it's just too much usefulness. Going first and second from these 2 cards. I just find them mandatory in the deck right now, to be honest. There's too many boards, as you saw yesterday. You can set up IP and go into SP, or IP SP in the board and interact with the opponent in multiple ways. Now, the 15 card here might be the most interesting card for all this list, and it's a card we're going to talk again about when we talk about playing the interactions, and it's Link Spider. Now, Link Spider might seem like a very weird inclusion here, but the main thing that Link Spider does is that it requires a normal monster to be able to link someone. This is important because of one particular card, Nibiru. And we're going to talk about this more later on, but there is many situations you find yourself with a board in which you can go into Reirautari if you could use the token, the Nibiru token for it. And the issue with Ulti-Rei is I require effect monsters, no? You often find out, okay, if I could only make this token an effect monster, and that's exactly what Link Spider does. So right now I feel this card is really good in the side deck, as I find Nibiru is gonna be mostly in the side deck and not in the main deck. But if Nibiru makes its way into the main deck, Link Spider will follow. And if Nibiru is in the side deck, Link Spider is in the side. If people are not playing Nibiru, Link Spider is not in the deck. These 2 cards will just go hand in hand. Apart from that, we already talked about the extra copy of Ulti-Ray. We have a Cross-Ship. Cross-Ship is an interesting one. There is some combos that go through Cross-Ship. And Cross-Ship, a cool thing about it is they require 2 monsters with different names. So we were talking about Nip earlier. They can help us play through Nip. While flying Cross-Ship, just the issue is that I just find that it's not good enough options, you know. Like most of the time, Cross-Ship will take the place in your place. Sorry, will take the place of Ulti-Kimufalco, no? And you have Kimufalco banish a monster, which is useful. An additional normal zoom, which allows you to stand, which is also useful. Then you're thinking, okay, so how Cross-Ship will have helped me otherwise, no? Especially because most of the time when you summon Cross-Ship, you summon right after Ulti-Noxio Dragon, which is your card to play through interruptions, you know? So I find it kind of iffy. I don't think Cross-Ship is good enough to make it into a deck. I consider it. I see people playing it. I just don't think it's enough. I find that you just have the spots in the extra decks could be better utilized for other cards. If you want a card that helps you with your combos, your Ray has a really good combo going, you know? At the moment you summon Cross-Ships, your Ray has other cards that will serve a similar purpose, something like Ulti-Kimufalco, for example. The other cards in here, we already talked about them, Garura and Moldragon. It's pretty good. And I find myself wanting one of these 3 cards in the deck. Linkuriboh, Anima, or Almiraj. The reason for that is that you sometimes find yourself with Lara or SP Lara on board, and you need something to do with it. No? And the cool thing about SP Lara in particular is that she only needs to be banished. No? So you often use the body in the field to summon an Anima, which, by the way, also helps you go in second to interact with your opponent. And you will have, for example, if you start Elder and SP Lara, you can do the body in the field for Anima, interact with the opponent in that way, and then you can fuse for Ulti-Noxio Dragon, and you have the extra body in the field now, no? So that comes into hand quite often. And I find the same thing with Linkuriboh. You can summon it, you can bring it back later on in the third combo of the duel. You can bring back Linkuriboh, send Lara to the graveyard. You have the extra body there, no? Because Lara will interact. It's the same thing to fuse from the grave than to fuse from the field for Ulti-Noxio Dragon, no? Just as you have Linkuriboh in the grave, you have that possibility to put an extra body on board, no? So I see a lot of people playing one of these 3 cards. I would likely at one point play one of these 3 cards. I'm not sure which one is better right now. I'm leaning towards Linkuriboh personally. But we have to see how the format, these 3 are going to be very format dependent, you know. If we find out the opponent is putting a lot of monsters in the field, so that they can play into Anima, they're forced to play into Anima, we bring Anima in. If we notice from testing, we put a lot of level 1, so we need more ways to interact, you have the Linkuriboh to put in, no? Right now, while I really want to play one of these 3, I'm not playing any of them. So I just don't find the spot, but they are fighting very closely for that 16 spots. Another card that is currently playing the deck, but I don't think it will make it after new support, is Wynn. Main issue with Wynn is that the opponents, apart from Baron, you don't have any other good targets. No? If this was the year of Wynn and not the year of Fire, Wynn will definitely be in our side deck. Sorry, in our extra deck. As it is the year of Fire, we don't have a good interaction for her, sadly. It's cool to revive with the effect of her. It's really neat to do those things, but I just don't find it does enough right now for the deck. And as an extender, you have better cards. Sadly, another card that is in the same boat is Ulti-Pettlephin. This card is played as a one-off currently in the deck. It's a good option. I remember back in the day, I used to play this a lot when you used to play Torrential Tribute. I used to summon it with Torrential Tribute on the field, and I used to blow everything, and your Pettlephin will remain in the field and that stuff. Right now, however, I don't think it's good enough to make it into the deck. Sometimes you find you want the Aqua in the extra deck, similar to how you play Ulti-Pettlephin, but the difference is that Ritual Beast Apelio has a really good effect to propel your combo forward. while Pettlephin has an effect that's mainly for interacting with the opponent, no? So it doesn't provide the same value at the end of the day. So I don't think Pettlephin is making it. Alright, so for the last 6 cards here, I noticed this is part of the latest development I have seen the OCG and the theorizing that we have seen in the TCG. So something that you can do with the deck is 3 different, if you want to call it, mini engines here, or combo varieties that you can put into a deck. The first one is that there is some combo routes that can summon Iblee in the opponent's house of the field. The way that you do this is that, so remember the combos that we did yesterday? Many of these combos can summon, you can end up with certain Ritual Beast monsters on the field. So you make it so you end up with Elder on the field, and you also have Kimufalco on the field. Kimufalco is a link 2, Elder is a level 2. You overlay into Gigantic Spright, summon Iblee, you use both them for any link, anything, and you summon Iblee to opponent's house of the field. The issue with the Iblee lock is that I just don't think it's good enough this format. I think that the opponents, everybody's playing SP, which doesn't help, but the opponent has just easy ways to play around it, no? You can always think, you know, you will play, you will use a state to prevent them from solving it, which actually is also very tempting. I find it that I don't think it does enough, but definitely something I will test back before the cards are released into the TCG to see if that format demanding, no? We have a format with very little use of the link mechanic, then we should definitely consider including these 2 cards into the extra decks and into the main deck, no? Another package using the new transaction rollback that just came out is the Beatrice package. So you noticed yesterday some of the combos that we mentioned end up onto into Kanahas that you can go in. I mentioned you could go into Lars with both them. Well, another thing that you can do is that you can summon Beatrice. And what Beatrice does is, as a quick effect, you can detach 1 to send a trap or to send any card from your deck to the grave, no? So you send up transaction rollback in your opponent draw phase, in your opponent standby phase. You send Ghostmith Gears, and you haven't seen this card before. The important part is right here. So basically, it locks the opponent from special summoning. Now I remember transaction rollback, you don't play the cost. Has too many issues with this. One, at the point where you already perform your combo, you have the tool Tikana has on the field, you already has a really good board to challenge your opponent. You know, you already has a really good established board. So most of the time you don't actually, it feels like a win more card, similar to what I mentioned about Shadows earlier. It just feels like a win more card. It feels like a card that you use and you already have performed your combo, your powerful combo, and you just add to that, no? It's not a card that will transform a loss into a win. So I personally don't like including, and not to mention that you are including 2 cards into your main deck that are basically bricks. And if you draw them in your hand, your combo to your Beatrice is also a dead spot in the extra decks. So just find these 3 cards not necessary. Obviously, there is also the niche interaction in which you draw them, you can send them to a graveyard for inheritance. Now you can discard them. But apart from that interaction, I don't see these 2 cards. I don't think you should include into the deck. I find that it's cute that you can go ahead and do that, but I find the boards that you set up without them are good enough. And when you are gonna go ahead and use them, you always run the risk of drawing them, no? Instead of sending them to the graveyard with Beatrice. Now, one card, apart from this, that we want to keep an eye on to see if it comes off the ban list anytime soon is Thunder Dragon Colossus. This goes back, and I mentioned earlier that we're going to talk again about the Nemesis card. Remember, Kanaha is a Thunder monster. So all of these interact very well with the Nemesis. The Nemesis are able to bring cards back, and you have Colossus you're able to summon using using a Thunder Buster on the field. No? So Colossus is a really good card, and I see some people playing the OCG, and I think we should definitely consider very strongly playing it if it come back in the TCG. Right now, if I was in the OCG, I will playing it, or at least testing it out with the Nemesis package, just using maybe one corridor and one flag maybe. To go ahead and include Colossus on it. But it's a card we need to keep an eye out for to see if it makes its way back into the TCG. So with all this in mind, we have been talking about a lot of cards, and I want to summarize really quick, at least my opinion, into the ones I consider the most relevant right now. Steeds I consider a 2-of, Inheritance a 3-of. I personally think you should be playing Pettlephin, or at least try it out, because it just helps you breaking boards. It helps you going second, not to mention that it's included in 1 or 2 combos. Zefrapilica is for too many combos, too many 2-card combos requires Zefrapilica. So I think and she's also good to have past turn 2, you know, when it comes back to you, you need to interact with your opponent's board. It's good to have that extra Ritual Beast monster. Apart from those 3, Crossout Designator I don't think it's good enough right now. Card by the Grave, really good card, definitely should be included in the deck. Same with Emergency Teleport. Testing out Chillbearer, definitely. The Hamtrash will depend on the format really. Goldsar doesn't do enough. Another card that we're testing out here is Book of Eclipse and Super Poly. These 3 cards are the main cards. You want to test some cards in your deck, take them in and out and try them out. These are the 3 main cards here, at least from this part of the list, that I will go ahead and test. Apart from that, Dimensional Fissure really good in the side deck. I wouldn't put it in the main deck personally. See some people main decking it still, but you do need cards that you can interact with your opponent going second. I find the deck have more issues going second than going first. And cards like this most of the time doesn't help you break the board that the opponent already established. Fonta, we're going to talk about this tomorrow. It's more of a niche idea, but I still would like to cover it. Apart from that, very important card in the probably in your side deck or extra deck, Link Spider. The reason again, Nibiru. If Nibiru is in the main deck, Link Spider should be in our extra deck. If Nibiru is in the side deck, Link Spider should be in the side deck. If Nibiru is not being played, we don't consider Link Spider. Apart from that, really good cards to have in hand, Apollousa. I consider the 15 card in the deck right now. You need to have something for time, and what I think you should play in that scenario is Kaga Cowboy. I personally will put it in the side deck. I think the extra deck for your game 1 is and game 1 and game 2 is too important to put in Kaga Cowboy in one of the spots. IP, SP, very important. Very, very important to have, mandatory in my opinion. Ulti-Ray at 1 is good. Testing out the second copy there, we might not include it. If you have the space, put Ty-Phon in for sure. And apart from that, another card, the last card I want to talk about it here, as far as testing goes, will be our Underworld Goddess. You can summon her really easily. We have to see if it will be good enough when the deck is finally released. So today we cover a lot of cards that can be included into the deck. We have started around 17 flex spots in the main deck, 6 flex spots that we have in the extra decks that we can utilize, and we can include some of these cards in there. We have a lot of stuff we could test further when the new support is released. It's a lot of cards that we can consider mini engines or variants of the deck that we can keep in mind, no? With all that being said, I really appreciate you watching this video, especially if this launch. You noted by the timeline below, it takes a lot of time to put this together, so really appreciate all the support. If you find this video informative at all, or if you find it entertaining, I would appreciate if you like the video. And again, this is only day 2. We have 4 more days to go of ritual-based content in the channel, so you want to keep track of that. You would like to subscribe to the video. And apart from that, we also have on Sunday, we're going to be having our first live stream. There will be again at twitch.tv/8YGO channel. And there I'm going to make an effort to go ahead and put everything together so we can explore the deck further, and hopefully we can put some really good discussions out about the deck. So you don't want to miss that. Apart from that, I will see you tomorrow. We're going to cover more ritual-based content. Thank you for watching.